What's up, everybody? We're back with the last video to the beginner's guide. In this video, I'm just going to be showing the things that we've learned over the beginner guide, which is candlesticks, support and resistance lines, trend lines, and false breakthroughs or breakthroughs. We'll just be putting those things together in this video and just showing how it works overall. I'll show a couple coins. I'm going to show Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tron, and Syndicator if you guys want to pull up another tab and go along with that in TradingView. But to jump right in, like I told you guys, I always start with my support and resistance lines. So I drew the highest and the lowest here and here, and with these I went by the wicks of the candlesticks because I know in the past videos I've always been showing going by the body, but I say you can do both, so I'll just go by the wicks in most of these just so you know, just so it's a little bit easier to look at. So I did my support and resistances. One here, one here, one here, another one here, another one here, another one here. So this day here, this is where we're starting. We're just gonna go a few days or a couple months into the future. So with the support and resistance drawn, after I do that, I go ahead and I go to my trend lines. So this is the first trend line that I drew, and as you can see, I only drew one because if you look at the lower price action, all the lows, it's not really following a trend. It's just coming up and playing and trying to meet these support and resistance lines that we have set up. But the top of the trend is definitely following a linear pattern. For example, if I were to draw a trend line, it would probably just have to, and I was going by the wicks, it would probably be this straight line down here, or it would be a straight line amongst one of these wicks. But I had my trend line start up here, came pretty close to touching here, touched here, and it touched here. So that's a strong trend line. And we were acting like this day might have been the last day, and we're just gonna see what happens after that. So we know that we have a support, or what is this? This is a later resistance. But so we know we have we know we have a support right here and a support right here. And this is from these earlier days. Actually, this is from that one. So this is the support that we have on this side of the graph, right? Don't worry about these two. So the price is coming down and it's playing around this area. It came and it bounced off of here, didn't break through. You see, it gave the illusion it's a false breakthrough. It didn't give us that low, high, lower low, lower high price action that we're looking for a breakthrough. But it came in a bounce, and now it came to meet this trend line that we have here. And I like to always look at where the lines would meet. For example, because we're not worried about these two right here, these support and resistances. We're worried about this support, and we're worried about this trend line. So if I kept drawing it, at some point it would have came and it would have met down here, which means that at some point before this day or at this day, it needs to break upwards or downwards. The price has to continue along. It's going to either continue along this way, upwards, or continue along downwards. It has to do something. So once it comes to this area, I like to look at that like, okay, this is like an area where it's going to have certain action, where it's definitely going to make a price move. So we see that it breaks this trend line here. And let's see if we get our action. So we're gonna count the trend line as the low, or we can count the last low as the low. But it's gonna be a low, and it's gonna be a high, and it's gonna be a higher low, and then a higher high it comes eventually. So if you gave it a couple days to show if it was gonna break it or not, you would have seen on this day, okay, it's out the trend for sure. So we continue, and I didn't want to draw any trend lines here because it was just too steep of price action. It wasn't too many days of loss, so it was just kind of like, yeah, we know that this is the trend that's going to go on, and it's not going to go on that forever. So we're waiting for some regular price action, and we get that right around here. So we draw the trend line at this point. We got another support right here. So now we got the price action bouncing between our trend lines. False breakthrough, makes it look like it wants to, but it doesn't. And like I said again, when your trend lines, whether it's the top or the bottom, comes and meets a support or a resistance, you know something's gonna happen. And this is where it touches here, because the price is, if you're looking at the price action, this is where it's headed. If it were to just continue to follow these days as it did, it was gonna head down here and either play with the bottom trend line or this support. So it does that, boom. We know that that's where there's gonna be some certain action. So there we see the action, and now it's following a new trend, all right? So it's following a new trend. Once again, I said whenever it comes to meet a point of, I know this is, that's further down the line. Let's not worry about this resistance right now. But so yeah, it's following through to this trend line. And yes, we have this as one of our supports from before. So that's another point that you want to look at when it's coming to meet this area right here. You know something's going to happen. It's either going to continue to follow this trend, or it's going to bounce off this support and break this trend. As we see, it follows a trend, and then we get a new low, a new resistance, and then it breaks through this trend line. And we like I said in the false breakthrough video, you can be sure of a breakthrough when you have a ridiculous price action like this. Even though it doesn't have to have another low and then another higher high. It can just show a crazy high jump through it, a big swing in momentum, and you're pretty certain that that's out of that trend now. So we let some price action happen, and then we start saying, okay, we can draw another trend line. We draw another trend line, and we got a false breakthrough down here. But it comes and it meets another area of certain action. So we know it's either going with the trend or with the support, one of the two. Comes with the trend, then it comes up and tests the support as if it's a resistance. Remember, we talked about that, and it comes back into the trend. So now we're looking to see what's gonna happen next. We see another breakthrough. We watch to see if it's a false breakthrough or not. If it's a real breakthrough, and then you just continue, so forth. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum didn't need too much work done. I just started because it's not even that much data. So I drew my highs, drew my lows. I got another couple high and low points from earlier in the graph here, because the price was really bouncing between that. So that means something to me. It means that there's some good holding prices in that area. So we got our trend line going upwards. You see, I kind of hesitate drawing trend lines that open up like this, because it just gives it more and more room to play around in it, and it just, it kind of gives you less understanding of what's happening at that moment. You see the whole trend, but it's just it's not as clear as you want it to be. But it comes through and it touches the first high that we have, and breaks it, and then forces a new high. But it doesn't break it and continue that trend. It just meets another price point where, okay, now we're realizing that, okay, this is a new resistance. So we draw a new resistance, and it comes back down and breaks the trend line. So now we have another trend line that we can draw. And we got a couple other, we got a resistance here and a support here from earlier in the graph. So now it's on this resistance, and this is like up to date. This is today. So for example, if we just want to look at it and see what predictions we can make. So we see it's going on this trend right here. You see it's looking like it wants to test this upper boundary. It wants to break through. Maybe continue on a sideways trend. But we do know that we have these two areas here. And it's coming to meet another area of certain action. But we have these two areas here, so we can imagine and predict that it's going to bounce through there or come and meet one of those before it does something. Because from what I'm seeing, it's gonna leave this here. It's gonna leave this upper trend line and maybe continue to follow like a overall same trend, but I don't think it's gonna come back in between this upper trend line and this lower trend line. But I do think it's gonna play in between these supports and resistances. Let's move on to Tron. Tron doesn't have too much data. Also, mind you, I'm on the day. You can move it to the minute or to the 30 minute or to the hour, something lesser, so that you have more information. But like I said, on that first Bitcoin graph, when the bottom of the what you normally have as your trend line follows that of a support line, it's okay to just make it a support and only have an upper trend line. Perfectly fine. So we see it's coming towards another area certain action. Something has to happen here that allows it to leave this or this. Even if it follows along here, it leaves that upper trend line. So something's gonna happen there, and we can guarantee that within the next few days. This indicator similar. And I love trend lines that look like this, that come down to a closer point, and as you can see, it's coming down to this support that was drawn here, which means definite action is approaching. Definite action is approaching. You can narrow it down to one of three things. It's either going to continue to follow this trend, break through, and then it's going to have to meet this price action that happens when this touches. It's going to have to jump out of that trend a little bit at some point down there, or it's going to bounce off of this, or it's just going to make its own price. It's going to make its own changes up here, or maybe even before, but definite action is coming. So that is just just a little trading analysis. There's a lot more that you guys need to learn that I have coming out. That was just the beginner's guide. We have the intermediate series coming after this, and after that we have the expert series. And there's so much more for y'all to learn and to apply to your trading analysis. This is just a beginner, man. Like, the same concepts that you'll be using here, you'll be doing more advanced versions of those concepts. So sooner or later, you're gonna even leave behind these trend lines and these support and resistances, because we're finding indicators that do that for us, and it just makes it quicker and easier. But you do need to understand what it is that you're doing and what it is that you're looking for. But yeah, keep following along. The intermediate guide should be out in a couple weeks. But thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned.